Welcome to iAccess VO with Brian Fischler and Ed Plumacher. Making it happen with voiceover accessibility. And now, here's Brian and Ed.
Welcome back to yet another episode of iAccess VO. We got through that 1-year anniversary, didn't have to fire anybody. We're moving right ahead. How you doing there today, Ed?
I'm doing good, Brian. Looking forward to another year. Let's get this thing started.
You know, something we probably should have done on the 1-year anniversary show, but it was just so packed with that great interview with J.K. Simmons and just information we had to get out to the listeners. We gave credit to the man, but we had to bring him on the show. You know, we had to get him off the bench and let him play with the big boys. So we'd now like to welcome in the man that makes Ed and I sound great, makes me sound great, and makes Ed sound like Ray Romano, our editor, Patrick Lafayette. How you doing there today, Patrick?
I want my champagne.
That was last episode. We're recording early in the morning here.
Well, it's early in the morning for you. It's afternoon for Patrick and I.
For real.
That's true.
I'd like to say hi to your audience, and what a pleasure it is just to be here with you guys all the time. Usually I'm in the background, and it's safer.
Yeah, well, everybody hears Patrick when we first get started, though, because Patrick is the voiceover for our intro and our outro.
That's true. So even though you've never heard him, or I guess you've never known that you've heard him, you've been hearing him. And Patrick, the only problem is now that you're on with us, we might have to take some shots at you.
Oh, man, for real. Guilty.
Good deal. So why don't we get down to a little business here with talking about what's going on with the Mac?
Yeah, you know, Patrick, you're I guess you've been using the Mac for a while, but you're newer to the Mac than me, and I know you're running Sierra over there. How are you finding Sierra these days?
I'm in love. I'm able to take the woman I love from my phone, and she's now on my Mac, and I can do things via voice, which is far more easier as a basic newcomer to the Mac. Making the transition from the PC to the Mac was a challenge, but thankfully I had a good teacher.
Yes.
And they implanted good stuff in my brain, and with good reinforcement, applying the new operating system, Sierra, wasn't that much of a challenge. First and foremost, it's an easy upgrade. When you apply Siri, and if you're as lazy as I can be, instead of traversing all the different routes to get to where you want to go to, you can just apply a command to Siri and she'll just do it for you. And I think that's exceptional, basically.
So you are finding Siri useful then?
Oh, yes.
I'm
lazy, man.
You're lazy? Well, what are the some? Because I'm so used to just typing away. You know, I've barely used Siri on the Mac. What are you using Siri for?
Everything. Sending messages, email. I treat her as if I treated the same sort of access point with the iPhone. That's how much of an advanced assistant it has become for me on the Mac. It reduces a lot of the on-hand experience. And ultimately, if you're working with Siri as an assistant, ultimately you develop a certain understanding of its pattern of presentation, so how you can apply it and get things done, and how you'll get the kind of responses that you want to get. So it's application for me. With anything else, it's there to be applied.
Right.
So it's best how to find all the nuances of that particular application to let it work for you, and it can. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah,
I'm lazy.
I do want to talk about the one thing too, is that you made the transition, and you know, for our listeners, I just want them to know, you know, Patrick was an avid PC user using, I guess, NVDA and JAWS, and you're also a totally blind user, so you're not low vision. You are a totally blind user, so making that transition to the Mac had to be a little more difficult for you.
It was, but again, my instructor, a weird guy, I must tell you. You might know him, Brian.
Brian the trainer is not the same Brian on the podcast. I have multiple personalities, and Brian the podcaster is not Brian the teacher, so much more F-bombs than Brian the teacher. No, I'm kidding.
No, but you did a good job. And your level of reinforcement, the way you applied the transition was good, and the things that you re-emphasized, and I never forgot that. So it really helped in the transition.
Yeah, and also just to let people know, you are the one who does all the editing for our shows. So you do all the cuts and the drop-ins and everything else for us as well. So and you've been doing that as a totally blind PC user. I guess you use JAWS, and I know Goldwave was your go-to in the beginning.
Yeah, friends told me about Goldwave being down and dirty. If you just want to get to the point and get the work done, Goldwave would be the best choice, more than Audacity and some of the other stuff, which they're good. I'm giving them their points, but Goldwave for me, it's truly down and dirty. JAWS has scripts, NVDA has scripts, and you can do some wonderful things, and they're just there. They're just there,
and it's 100% accessible for you.
100% accessible.
Yeah, that's a rarity sometimes. So it's nice to find something that works and gets the job done.
Well, now that you're in both environments, when you're up and running with the Mac, and I know you've got some editing software over there, when do you think you'll start editing full-time on the Mac, or do you plan to still continue to edit on the PC because that's just more comfortable?
Well, I'm making the transition to the Mac. I'm still in the kid process of learning Pro Tools, which is a whole new gorilla in the room. It's very interesting. It allows me multi-tracking, which Goldwave doesn't actually. Goldwave is a bit of a process that you have to go through. Hi, Nash. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, you've got great information. I'm like, here comes the
yeah, he wants to know what's up, man. What you guys doing?
He just walked in the room and he was walking over real quietly. And
yeah, like, I hear you guys recording. He's tiptoeing, Yeah, but that's my buddy, man. I got to say hi to him anyway. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. It's fine. Did you hear him keep walking around during the JK interview?
Oh, yeah. Like, that's my star. Can I ask him a question, too? No, but the transition to Pro Tools, it's a beautiful transition because it allows flexibility of tracking, where I can have you guys on individual tracks and do nicer things with you guys and individually edit the voices a little bit smoother and stuff. So I'm making that transition. It's a bit slower because remembering stuff, all the new keystrokes. Oh my God, so many different keystrokes. Jesus.
Yeah, but once you learn them, they're there for life.
I'm dreaming keystrokes.
Yeah, me too. I've been going through that transition.
Oh, you dream keystrokes?
Oh God,
Jesus.
because between teaching voiceover, teaching JAWS, teaching Magic, teaching ZoomText, teaching Word and Excel, and everybody has to learn the keystrokes, keyboard commands, because that's what makes us efficient and productive and allows us to integrate in integrated work environments with sighted people to stay competitive. So you have to learn the keyboard commands.
See, I don't dream, but back in the day, I nightmared keystrokes. So it has happened to all of us, and now that I'm starting to play, I'm going the reverse, where I'm starting to play around in the Windows environment. I'm waiting for that Windows narrator nightmare where I wake up and I'm, keystrokes. But no, that's great. No, it's great that you're getting up and running with the Mac. And it's interesting because they do have a lot of editing software apps on the iPhone. Have you ever played around with any of those, Patrick, or are they just not as full and feature rich as the editing suites are on the PC and Mac?
Agreed. Not as rich. Plus the access. Not the access. I should say the flexibility of the access. You can access, but you sometimes have to go all the way around your elbow to get straight through thumb. You know, it's
you have to be a contortionist. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And again,
Yeah, no.
I must emphasize, I'm lazy. I'll work very hard not to do anything.
Hey, for a lazy guy, you get an awful lot done because I know Ed and I have put you to work a few times here with editing the quality of our show, because that was one thing when we started the show that we really wanted the quality to be superior, and we think most of the time, every now and then we have, a few wrinkles and curveballs where you can't deal with certain sound issues and everything, but overall I think one thing we've been complimented about besides the content of the show is the quality of the sound recording, and you're the one that we have to thank for that. And you're just not here for us. Why don't you tell the listeners that they can hire you if they're looking for somebody to help them with some sound editing or
other podcasts. Yeah, they want to get their podcast off the ground. This is the man to talk to because he's been there with us since day one.
It's something that I enjoy doing very, very much. Folks have a lot of aspiration when it comes to imparting knowledge, and sometimes they do have challenges in how they go about doing so. As long as you have a proper recording device, and remember one thing, garbage in is garbage out. So as best a recording as you can have, then I can work with that. After we have that recording, we can dance all over your track. So if your track's a little sick, then you can send it to the clinic. And it's called thepodcastclinic@gmail.com.
Awesome. So if they need to get a hold of Patrick, you just email him there at thepodcastclinic@gmail.com and open up your dialogue, and maybe you'll have a podcast out there soon too.
We also have a Google Voice, if you don't mind my presenting that also.
Sure, absolutely.
646-397-8577. I shall repeat, 646-397-8577. And now we will return to Ed and Brian.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good thing to do also, Patrick, because Patrick does a lot of voiceover work too. I know you've done a lot of commercials and a lot of promos and things like that, so you're also available for that type of business as well.
I heard Patrick is the yellow M&M, or was that our last guest?
That was our last guest.
No.
Oh, okay.
I am into candy bars, though. Might I tell you a quick candy bar one?
Sure.
One day, Mr. Goodbar wanted a bit of honey. So he took Miss Hershey behind the powerhouse on Fifth Avenue and began to feel her mound. It was pure almond joy. She let out a snicker as his butterfinger went up her Milky Way. "Oh, Henry!" she cried. The result? A Babe Ruth.
Now, that's not going to take us from PG to R, is it?
We're talking about candy, aren't we?
I don't know, man. I try and read between the lines. I think that had something to do with something that might not have to be with candy, but now I'm getting hungry. But speaking of candy, I did see something recently where there was a blurb that said somebody could predict your age by what candy bar is your favorite. Do you believe that?
I don't know.
What's your favorite candy bar?
Kit Kat.
Kit Kat, okay. Ed?
Cluck Bar.
Yeah, Ed's old. Yeah, it works, man. I'd say like, Reese's Peanut Cups or something. That says I'm young, but yeah. So
Which is yours?
Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. That's a young man's candies. So anyway, let us know what candy you like, and you can tweet us in or email us at iaccessvo@gmail.com, or tweet us in your favorite candy, and we'll see if we can tell how old you are at iaccessvo. But one of the questions that we got asked recently, there's been a lot out there about the new mail layout in iOS 10. Ed, have you been seeing this?
Yeah, well, I know that they did change the threading, and that's a conversation I guess you and I and Patrick were having just before we went to air. So why don't you discuss with the listeners what was covered?
Yeah, the layout of mail is a little different. Yeah, you used to have all your inbox and sent and trash, and then below that you'd have accounts, and you'd have to go into the accounts when you're somebody like me that archives a lot of your mail and you have different mailboxes. Now you could quickly do a 3-finger swipe just up and all your mailboxes are there. They kind of got rid of that account step, so it's a lot cleaner and faster to jump from mailbox to mailbox. But one of the questions we've been seeing asked on a lot of the email lists is how do you work with mail threading on the iPhone? It's a little different now. And say you have a bunch of email threads that are next to each other. If you go ahead and open one of them and you do a 3-finger swipe right, that will swipe you in between your mail threads. So 3-finger swipe right and left, where it used to, I believe, get you to the next message. Now it's going to get you to the actual next mail thread. What we find that works when dealing with a mail thread, do a 3-finger flick up, and that's going to get you from message to message. So instead of going right, you're now going 3-finger flick up, 3-finger flick down, and that seems to be the easiest way to get through mail threading and everything. So hopefully that helps some of you out there who's been banging your head where you're doing that 3-finger flick right, and all of a sudden you're in a new thread. So go ahead and give it a try. Let us know if it's working for you. What about you guys? Have you been playing around with this new mail thread? Not everybody at once. Hello?
Patrick, yeah.
I've been having some serious issues with it, and I'm glad you actually told me about the 3-finger swipe up. I was getting the next threads, and that was a pain.
Yeah.
That was a pain. I couldn't figure it out. When you looked at the top, prior to the back button, it would indicate the various threads you have and which particular you would be in at that time. If there are 10 of them and you're in number 3, it would indicate that and that you've already visited 2, But getting to the other 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. was the problem. 3 fingers up and down, that's good to know. I almost gave up on it, man, and entered from another.
Yeah, it's not a clean way of doing it, because I notice sometimes it doesn't always jump you to the next message. It depends on the length of the message. So you got to play around with it a little.
I think they should have left it.
Yeah.
They should have left that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should have remained, because you see, when you're going through the individual emails, sometimes you can actually see the various threads in their individual sent state. Yeah. Based on that, you could say, okay, here's from Ed, Brian, another from Brian, another from, here's a third one from Brian I wanted. Bang, bang, and you're on it. Now you have to do that 3-finger flippity-floppity and go through everything.
Yeah, I think from an accessibility standpoint, it was a much cleaner interface old way. Yeah.
Yep. This is broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what it was? It was some engineer who had a brilliant idea and said, ooh, let's do this, who's never actually used VoiceOver, probably.
Have you ever used Alert with messages?
I've never turned on an alert for an individual message. I think it's because I'm one of those people that's constantly checking email that I don't find it necessary, because odds are I'm going to look at my email. I probably check email way too frequently.
Well, there's certain things that I have on alerts, like a WhatsApp call and message and a regular message. Instead of just going into the message area, prior to 10, it would be that alert that pops up and takes over the whole screen. This still occurs, but it doesn't take over the whole screen. It sits atop in the status bar as a notification, but it'll sit there. It will not move. But it'll still be an alert. To act on it, you'll have to do the 1-finger swipe down, and you get a choice of dismissing it or acting upon it with a more situation. What I'm saying is, prior to that, where it would take the whole screen into consideration, that's not anymore. It sits there at the top, and it sometimes can be a nuisance.
Yeah, no, I really haven't used that feature. I mean, I use the VIPs sometimes, but I still notice that some VIPs get announced when they send me an email, and other VIPs don't get announced. It just reads VIP next to them. So I don't know what's causing the erratic behavior with that.
Probably because your phone's has so much stuff going off at one time, you can't get all the information through. I mean, you get more notifications and more alerts and more bells and whistles going off when I'm around you than anybody I know.
That's because I'm a very important person and I need to be kept notified of everything that's going on, whether it be news or sports. The one thing I wish that I could turn any kind of notification off for would be election news. Because I just don't care.
Too funny. But, one of the other issues that we came up with iOS 10 too is, and you raised this issue with me, Brian, was is there a way to fix it so when you do a two-finger double tap, you don't start hearing music?
Yeah, I've had multiple students, newbie students, who this has been driving bonkers because, they're new to the iPhone and they're not exactly, sure what all the gestures do. And a lot of them, I have two students right now who keep doing the two-finger double tap, and music just starts playing from somewhere. And you could force quit every app so it's just the home there, and you still do a two-finger double tap. And neither of these people are subscribed to Apple Music. One of them I noticed, what keeps playing on their iPad is that free album YouTube gave to everybody. Remember that?
Oh, yes. Right.
So at least I know it's coming from Apple Music. They're like, I hate you, this kind of music. And how do you get rid of that? I know there's a way to delete that album, but I don't believe there's any kind of way to turn that two-finger double tap off to launch music or audio playing.
No, because that's the base. It turns on and off any kind of video or audio, so you can't break that. So, and there's no way to separate that from the onboard native music app. So that's something that that you live with. And as newbies, it's everybody that I ever taught in the beginning always was doing the two-finger double tap as a routine. So even when they want to just do a pause, they're doing it a second time, and all of a sudden the music would come on.
Well, you know what it also works with is Netflix.
Yes.
That's just kind of cool, because sometimes to find that pause button, it's a lot easier just to do a two-finger double tap than to flick around and find the pause button. But,
right. And it works for everything. It works for YouTube, works for Netflix, works for any music or video application you're playing with that is built with accessibility features or tied into it. It will do that with.
You know what? It also works with, which we definitely should probably mention.
Our podcast.
Pornhub.
Oh.
When you and I were testing that out, and I finished testing it, and hours later I did a two-finger double tap to resume listening to the podcast I was listening to. It was not the podcast I was listening to, but it was Chrome playing. Yeah, when I was testing that out. By the way, listeners, if you're using Pornhub, let us know if they ever get any new content there or anything, or move forward with that. But I know I haven't checked it out in quite a while, since yesterday. But so it's been a while. But okay. We live in an explosive world, guys. I mean, things are just happening all the time, and I guess we really live in an explosive world if you're a Samsung owner.
Yeah, that's just pretty amazing that this is still ongoing, and now it turns out that some of the phones that they've replaced the original phones with are exploding too, and I think now the FAA has banned the phones and tablets on flights. They don't even want them turned off and packed in your luggage now.
Well, it's funny because when I am subscribed to a Droid list, and it's so funny to read people saying, well, it's only one of their phones.
Yeah.
Okay. It's still blowing up. Oh, it's only the Samsung 7 Note. Yeah, but phones aren't supposed to blow up, people. I mean, so, I've heard their stock has just taken an absolute hit, and that's good for Apple. Unfortunately, it's not good for me because I don't own stock in either company, but,
It also has serious consequences, though, on the Korean market, on the serious economic, because that's millions and millions of dollars loss.
Yeah, and I feel sorry for those little kids working in the factory who are having to test this.
Oh God!
I saw a
I
test.
Can't be thoughtful of them.
I saw a test on TV, and it's a serious explosion. It's like a bomb, you know.
Damn.
It's like a bomb, man. It's serious explosion.
Yeah,
And
well,
that can be very, very dangerous to people.
yeah, anything, fireworks, anything that explodes is just not. I don't want to be around it. But Ed, new Macs be coming.
Yeah. There's, I think they're going to be announcing them at the end of the month. I saw how Apple has moved the date of their fiscal announcements or whatever for their numbers to the 25th of October, leaving open that October 27th date that they had panned out. So, rumor has it that we'll be looking to see the new OLED bar on the top of the MacBook Pros.
Well, this is a pretty late in the year announcement for Apple, isn't it? Normally, it's much earlier. Don't they normally announce in September?
No, I believe the iPads and the Macs have usually been in October. So, but I'm hearing the iPads, we're not going to see anything new for them announced until the spring of 2017. So, don't expect any iPad announcements this fall.
Yeah, but Apple is so powerful that with that announcement not coming until 2017, they'll probably just move Christmas to March. Get your new iPad for the new Christmas, according to Apple.
There you go.
They're the one company that's powerful enough to do that.
Yeah. I don't think it would fly.
No, you don't think it'll work. Maybe Apple will turn Easter into Christmas and Christmas into Easter.
There you go.
You don't think that's going to catch on?
Patrick, this is what I have to put up in this scenario all the time. You get to listen to it post. I got to live with it live.
I get to rewind.
That's right. You can fast forward, rewind, and you get to cut. You get to cut and mute.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you don't like? You don't think I come up with all these good ideas, and you don't like them all?
Well, you know you don't, because half of the ones you talk about never make it to air.
Yeah, but those are just the dirty ones that keep us PG-13.
That's why Patrick still does his job for us. He's like,
hey,
you guys are entertaining. Awesome.
Well, Patrick, this has been a lot of fun. I know we got to let you get running because you got to be editing something. But why don't you tell the listeners? Why don't you tell the listeners how they can get a hold of you again?
Oh, okay, excellent. The podcast clinic at gmail.com. You can definitely send me an email. Give me an idea of what you're doing with your recording. If you need some lessons also on how to create a podcast, because it's a simple tool, and with few instructions, I'm sure you could get going and do your own stuff. So you can just drop us a line, the podcast clinic at gmail.com, or feel free to give us a call, 646-397-8577. We now return you to Brian and Ed.
And one disclaimer on that, if you're looking for Patrick to do a podcast about Mac and Apple training, he's already got one he does, so just move on out.
Oh, and we do voiceovers too. We'll do commercials for you, call on hold. We do everything. As long as it's involved with the audio realm, we're there.
Well, I know you do a lot of video, recordings for records, soundtracks, and things along those lines as well, libraries.
Yes. If I may do a quickie pluggy.
Sure.
I do a few voiceover features for VP Records in terms of their historical features and stuff like that. So that's been a thrill so far. Voiceovers. I love the voiceover things. So.
And he's also a master of helping you work around copyright infringement law.
I try.
Very good. Awesome. Patrick, it's been
Thanks,
it's been
guys.
pleasure.
Have a beautiful show. And it's going to be a pleasure being in the background and editing you guys again. Yeah.
All right, Patrick. Thanks so much.
All right, now.
Be well, Patrick.
You're listening to Brian and Ed on iAccess VO.
Wow. Well, I can't really say anything bad because that was like our worst guest ever, but that was a real treat to have Patrick on the show for the first time live.
Yeah, I know we've spoken about trying to get him on a few times, and finally worked out where it worked into all our schedules. And I was just happy to get him on because he is a very talented man, and he has a great voice, and he does phenomenal work on the audio side. I mean, I've seen some of his work with the record companies and stuff, and just good to have him part of iAccess VO.
Yeah, no, and he's very patient. He lets us work through our growing pains and everything. Never hurries us, and he's just a delight to work with and deal with. And if it wasn't for him, we'd probably just be doing this and not editing anything.
Yeah, and remember, you have to be nice to him because he has all our outtakes.
Yes. There goes my political career.
You and Billy Bush.
If you're wondering why I'm not running for the presidential campaign, Patrick has too much dirt on me.
There you go. Good.
But you know what I really like, Ed? I like hidden features, anytime anything's hidden and it's just like all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know that was there. I mean, I guess maybe it's not a hidden feature because it's there, and it's obvious. But something I noticed on the since just iOS 10 was this new call announce feature. Have you been using this?
Yeah, I actually did. I stumbled upon it myself, and I liked it that it gave me the option to announce calls. And it says you want to do it when you have your headphones in or just regular or whatever. So I just put it on for when I have my headphones in to just be able to, because if my headphones are on, it usually means my phone is in my pocket. So, and just to have the caller ID announced to me in that situation works well for me. Otherwise, I can pick it up and I am low vision. I am able to glance down usually and see who's calling, or I see well enough to be able to touch the caller name and have it spoken.
And full disclaimer, you just don't want other people to know that you know me, so if it was being announced when the headphones aren't in, that could be embarrassing to you.
Oh, exactly. I could be anywhere in Manhattan, and the minute my phone would say, call from Brian Fischler, and people go like, oh, you talk to that guy?
Why? Now, it's a nice little feature. I just enabled it recently, so it's nice to, now. I normally, when my phone rings, because my ringtone seems to be so loud, if I'm out and about, I press the volume button, which just silences it, and then I just move my finger around the screen, and you can see who's calling, and then if you want to answer, you just do your 2-finger double tap, and hopefully it's answering the phone and not playing music.
Okay. Awesome.
We call that a callback. Isn't that kind of interesting? A callback.
There you go.
Yeah, so, I had a fun accessibility experience the other night, Ed.
Yeah, you were telling me about was it ABC?
ABC, yeah. I had wanted to catch the pilot for this new sitcom called Speechless, and it's interesting because this show is about a disabled kid, so it'd be interesting because the last show we had J.K. Simmons playing a blind guy, so I would kind of put this show in the same category. It's with Minnie Driver, and so I went to the Apple TV because I had missed the pilot, and I fired it up, and I went into the app on the Apple TV, and I'm hearing label, line. Nothing's labeled. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, ABC. You're not ESPN. You're much better than that. Everything on the old Apple TV 3 was labeled, so I wasn't obviously going to be able to watch the show on my Apple TV, and I then went to the app that you and I both love, Yahoo Movie Guide. Is that the exact name?
I don't know if it's the exact name, but yes, I know we've talked about it on the show, and it's a great app.
Yeah, and I just typed in Speechless, and obviously there have been many titles called Speechless over the years, but I found the one I wanted, and I went down and I selected episode 1 and said play on iPhone, and it started playing right away on the iPhone with described video.
Well, that's because you do have the described video button enabled on your iPhone, don't you?
Yeah, but talk about sending me mixed signals, ABC. You've got described video programming, yet you can't properly label your ABC app on the Apple TV?
Well,
I mean...
You just said they're not ESPN, but they are owned by the same parent company, Disney.
They are.
It's all the same group. So, but you mentioned the Apple TV, so I guess we should maybe play some taps here because I don't know if you've heard or not, but the word is out that the Apple TV 3rd generation is now officially dead.
What do you mean?
It's no longer supported, sold, manufactured, distributed, anything by Apple. So it's over.
But you could still play stuff on it, right?
You can still play stuff on it, but you won't get any more updates or anything for it. It's completely been removed from anything they're doing. So it's over.
Yeah, but as long as it works, who cares? You still have all your content.
It works for now. We'll see what happens down the road.
Yeah. Well, they really need to address their app developers making things accessible, because it's just pathetic. It's like these companies, these major corporations, and I hate to sound like we're beating a dead horse here, but what does that expression mean? Beating a dead horse, but that just sounds sick.
It means it's pointless.
But who came up with it? I mean, who was the first person? I always wonder who the first person to coin. It's really like beating a dead horse. I mean, does that mean that person beat a dead horse?
Or they actually observe somebody beating a dead horse? Like, what is, were you that mad at a horse that died? You had to beat it after it was dead? I don't know.
Yeah, and who made it like, common nomenclature, and just popular. And anyways, I digress here, it's...
Well, now, I know you're on the topic of accessibility things breaking, and you had contacted me, and I've seen a lot written about this, is that Facebook recently had some major accessibility issues again.
Yeah, and at present recording, they have fixed it. I don't know if they've introduced anything new as far as, but yeah, they broke for at least 2 full cycles, links being read to blind people, and I had written them on Twitter at FB Access. Come on, Pete. I thought you guys were beyond this and we're testing things, and I got your typical response. Oh well, why don't you go to this forum and fill this out? And I'm like, I have 5 jobs. This is your job,
Yeah.
It's just, what kind of testing goes on? I mean, it's almost as if they really get ignored.
Well, the funny thing was, people were sharing the post to where to go and find the page to file the complaints about accessibility. But they weren't able to, nobody was seeing it because the links weren't being read. So I actually went in there and manually put the link in text above the shared link in order so, I edited the post so people would have access to it.
I like to think we're providing a service, maybe a couple of laughs, and, hopefully, we're learning a few things along the way as well.
Yeah, and I do want to thank our listeners, because we've had, I know the last episode we put a request out for to give us some reviews in the iTunes store, and we've gotten some nice 5-star reviews, and it's great that people are appreciating what we're doing.
Yeah. Go ahead and listen to the last episode. If you like what you're hearing here, you'll hear how to leave us a review and rating in the iTunes store, and we appreciate that. But for now, we are out.
You have been listening to iAccess VO. If you'd like to contact us with ideas and suggestions for future podcasts, please email us at iaccessvo@gmail.com or visit our website at www.accessquest.org.